This is the Artist Entrepreneur Podcast. We are your hosts, Amanda Ritchie, Noah Dock, and me, Carrie Wee. We're three artists brought together by the love of circus and dance. Amanda from the world of Cirque du Soleil as an aerial soloist. Noah, our academic, and me from the commercial dance world. This is one of the greatest jobs in the world, but it comes with uncertainty. Each episode contains insight on how to pursue art-based businesses. We'll have a variety of guests and have lively weekly Discord. Tune in every week to hear our perspectives on the minefield that is the artist's way of life.
Audio only?
Well, we're looking at each other, but I don't use the video.
Yeah, that's good because my hair is doing the craziest things. I spent all last week in the Philippines for work.
Oh my God, what were you doing there?
I was doing the cybersecurity part of my job, and it was so hot and so humid. I had like tight little curls all over my head.
Oh my God, but it must be nice to travel so much.
I do love travel. Yeah.
Oh my God, but Jen, you're in Utah, right?
I am.
Oh, I remembered that. I don't remember everything, but for some reason, that stayed in there.
Impressive. Yeah. I'm in Utah. My husband has family here.
Okay.
So that's why we're here. But also, I've always wanted to get back to my kind of rural roots and have a little farm. And it's really expensive. Land is pricey. But if you get out in the middle of nowhere in Utah,
there we go.
I have a little 5-acre farm full of almond trees. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so quaint. I love that.
It is. It's kind of adorable.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have so many, like when you were interviewing me, it took me so much to hold myself back and not ask you 18 million questions because I want to know so badly how you ended up doing this. Aerialympics. Like, how did this even, like, origin story? I don't even understand how this all started.
Okay, so my oldest kid, who now owns Vaudeville Underground Circus School in Salt Lake, was a competitor and helping with the rigging. And my youngest kid was also helping with the rigging and dragged me to I say dragged, I was happy to go and support my kids. And it was the second Aerialympics. And so I was sitting in the audience, and then I saw the head rigger come out and went, oh, he's cute. Maybe if I get involved with the Aerialympics.
Are you serious?
He will marry me. And so I am absolutely serious.
Wait, so your kids were from a previous relationship?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And so, so I started helping out little here and little there where I could so that I could get involved. And it only took me 7 years to get him to marry me. And then and then eventually the founder, Shay Williamson, she's such a fantastic person. She decided that she wanted to go a different direction with where she was spending her time.
Okay.
And I said, but I love the Aerialympics. I just love this event. I love the people involved, and I had ideas for how, where it could go. And so I convinced her to let me buy it from her. And I think that was 2020.
Okay.
And so that's basically how this all happened.
Right, because the first time we texted or emailed, she says, just letting you know I'm not an aerialist.
I'm not, yeah.
And I was like, how the heck did you get into this? Okay, so it was already a thing when you were there.
It was.
Okay, so now that you're running this, you're sailing this ship.
Yeah, yeah.
What are the goals? Like, what's the big stuff? Like from 10,000 foot, what you want for this endeavor?
The big thing that I love about aerial circus arts is the creativity and the fellowship. The thing that I hear over and over again from the performers is, I didn't fit in soccer. I didn't fit in dance. I didn't fit in other places, but people find that they fit here. And I think that's historically, that's just been the way it is. You don't fit you run away and you join the circus, right?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of something
that we feel deeply. And so I have all of these people who feel like they fit here where they don't fit anywhere else. And so my goal is to augment that feeling of belonging someplace, and creating those opportunities for networking and to develop friendships. And so my biggest focus is how do we provide a place where everyone feels that they belong, and regardless of whatever level they're at, whatever age they're at. We have people from very young all the way into their 70s competing. We have performers, a lot of performers in their teens that are looking for connection, and they find friendships from other studios, which I love creating that, across the country relationships and other people that they can rely on to, and for coaches as well. Because a lot of times a coach will be in their own town or a small town even sometimes, and either not have somebody that they can call and say, how do you teach this, or how are you dealing with this issue, or how, what are your thoughts on this, either because there's nobody else in their town, or because sometimes there become conflict or competition, right, between studios that are in the same town.
Yeah,
but if
happens.
you have friends that you've made at Aerialympics and they're from across the country, then suddenly you can call them and say, how are you dealing with this? And so really creating the ability for people to connect and express themselves on stage and really have a chance to shine, that's the overarching goal.
Okay. And from a business perspective, does this business make money by any chance?
Well, I mean, why are we going there?
Well, the reason I asked, besides the fact that this is the Artist Entrepreneur podcast, is...
Yes, this is a difficult question.
Yeah, okay.
And I joke about it, but truthfully, even before I bought the show, my day job was supporting a lot of the activity, right? And I'm fortunate that I have a good day job so that I could. And I really did think that I was getting to where the budget balanced out, that the show was self-sustaining, and that this is by no means a moneymaker, but it is, worth the time, and also provides opportunity for people to have income in various ways. The judges, and the people helping with the show, I try to pay people fairly for their time. And so that was going great until 2025.
Okay, what happened in 2025?
Well, I got really sick last year, and I had to replace myself. So for nationals, I had to hire 4 people because I couldn't be there, plus 2 people behind the scenes because I was a little bit on the struggle bus there, and I really was barely able to hold the show together all last year. And I found out how much it actually costs if I were to pay for the positions that I typically do myself.
Oh, I see. Right.
And that's one of the big reasons why I actually did change registration fees for the current season, because it kind of forced me to look at things in a very realistic way of how much does the show actually cost to produce, and what does that mean in terms of registration fees and kind of other factors. So I think this year we are going to be breaking even, as long as I don't do something crazy like build another judging app, or it's these things that I'm like, hey, we're pretty good. Maybe I should take on another big project.
Well, I'm looking here at your event schedule. I pulled up your website. You've got a lot happening. So each one of these events, you are in the future, so many months, weeks out, you are putting down deposits for venues. Are you doing that?
Yeah, for the nationals, we for sure are. For regionals, we try to go into host studios.
Yes, I'm seeing that. Let me read off a couple of them. You've got Shine Fitness in Texas. You've got Cirque Athletics. You've got Warp Studios, Aerial Expressions, Louisiana. Creative you have something in Houston, and then Vaudeville Underground there in Utah. So you have these relationships in all of these cities, and are they hosting for you? How does that work? Like let's just say a studio wanted to host. Yeah,
that's a great question. Well, because there's so many different ways that you can participate. That's one of the things that every season I send out emails to coaches and judges and say, what's going well? Like, what are the things that you don't want me to change? And then what could be improved and what kind of experiments do you want to try? And so the expansion of different types of participation, modification to rules, that's how it all comes out is people say, what if we did this? And we give it a shot. So we have regionals, which are live in person, where I go and I take my crew, we record people who perform, and in real time take those recordings and share them with the judges who are judging, so we get real time results back and live awards that day. Now, except for nationals, judges are not in the room because one of the difficulties in putting on an event is finding enough competent judges who are available and willing to fill up the weekend and judge their specialty. So yes, we can get aerialists, plenty, and even really good aerialists and people who know how to judge, but can we get enough Lyra judges for the weekend? Can we get enough specialty judges for the weekend? And so I think it's really important in choosing judges to get ones who know the apparatus and who can give valid feedback that the performer can use either to improve themselves for the next competition or just generally in their performance. And so one of the ways that we discovered how to make this work was during the pandemic, when we all had to figure out new ways of doing everything. We figured out that we could get judges from all over the world. And so that's what I do is I'll have judges in Brazil and India and the Philippines and Maldives. And I put all of these judges, together and say, who do I need that's, sharp on these various things? And then send the videos to them. They log into the judging app, judge it, we get it back, and then people get their awards that same day. And so that's how a regional works. And then we have in the wild. In the wild is you can record from anywhere. Let's say you're in a studio, you want to record there. Let's say you're in your backyard with the rig, you can record there. So the way that we make in the wild be a judged event or feel like a competition event is we have the people set up a meeting time with us, and our adjudicators will hop on the call and adjudicate the call. That doesn't mean they're judging while they're watching. It means they check and see, do you have a mat? Is your mat of a minimum diameter or dimensions? Are you only doing one take? So is what I watched the video that you sent in, right? If something goes a little sideways, then they'll help the coach or the performer. Let's say the music cuts off in the middle of a performance, and then they don't know, am I allowed to redo it, or do I have to just do what happened, right? So the adjudicator is there to make sure that those things are addressed. And so that's what In the Wild is about. And now we have a very relatively new thing that we started a couple of years ago from a coach that suggested it, which is a local invitational. Now this is like In the Wild, except the studio that's hosting, and you mentioned Aerial Expressions. They're in Shreveport, Louisiana. They put on a local invitational that is Mardi Gras themed, and they have their performers from their team plus other performers from other teams will come in. It is a very competition feel there in the studio, or in their gym, and they have their own medals that they'll give out for various things like best costume or audience favorite, right? But then also everything gets judged along with the In the Wild performances. And then in a couple of weeks, they find out their placings for that. We announce it on Instagram, and then we mail out the medals. So you can see the In the Wild and local invitational are more studio based without us being there. Regional, we are there, although it is also studio based. And then nationals, we have, because everybody wants that on stage feel. Yeah, so we go to the LPAT, which is the Liberty Performing Arts Theater in Liberty, Missouri. They're so good to us there. I don't know if you've ever tried to And the thing about them is if you try and take a lot of aerial performances into a studio, it can run into a lot of pushback and challenge. And how are we going to rig this? And who is going to rig this? How long are we allowed to be in the theater? What are our start hours, our end hours? Do we have to hire people who are there, or can we use our own people? So there's a lot of challenges in renting a theater. These guys, so welcoming, so affordable. So this is why we continue to go back, because they really support our processes and our people, and they love having us there. So that's where we do nationals, and people get to be on the stage.
Okay, so you have all these different workarounds for keeping your budget low, basically.
Yes.
Because you have to, or else you're not going to have the business, and there's not going to be these opportunities.
Exactly.
Got it.
If I had to pay for a studio or a venue each place we went, I don't know that it would be possible.
Correct. Okay.
Because aerial arts, it's just inherently more expensive than anything else that people seem to do out there.
Yeah, the rigging, you got to have rigged space.
Yeah.
No matter what. So if somebody out there, if a studio out there wanted to host an Aerialympics, how would they go about doing that?
Oh, so I think the best way to do it would be to do a local invitational. And what we're finding is if you do an in the wild first, so you know what it feels like, how does recording go? Did our recordings, were they done correctly? We usually say, do an in the wild first with just your studio. That way, if, heaven forbid, you mess up and none of the videos work, it's just your team, right?
Right.
And then after you've done it once, then you can maybe do a local invitational. And again, that doesn't have to include anybody beyond your team, but it can. But it takes and steps up from I'm recording in my studio to I'm making this feel like a competition. You're having an audience there. Sometimes we'll have studios that are like, hey, I have a theater here that I work with a lot, and we think they're affordable, and they'll go in and they'll record in a theater nearby. So they can create that experience for their students that a lot of studios are looking to offer to their people. A very special event and having that that competition feel there that they really manage. And the difficult part is, it's like running a recital, plus you have to make sure everybody's recorded. And then you have to get the recordings into us with everybody's names correct on it.
Yeah.
So it's a step up in complexity.
Okay. Yeah. And the Arium here, we just had our annual recital on Friday, and it's, I can imagine, what it's like they lost their sound person. So they made me their sound person. Okay.
Oh, amazing.
So you guys, I have nightmares about this because I messed up sound on a very small showcase once, and I have always been tarnished and traumatized by it. And so what happened this time is they gave me the headset and the mic to communicate with the stage manager.
Yeah.
And because you guys, I can figure it out, but I hadn't figured it out yet. So I'm like talking to the guy beside me. I was like, do you know what my nightmare is? Running sound. And everybody heard me. And I did mess up a couple times, but I kind of
but it was okay.
Quickly fixed it. And the quickness of the fix is kind of the important part, if you ask me, when you're in a live show. So here's my question, because this has always been so hard. I've judged a couple aerial competitions. And how did you figure out how to judge aerial? And you've gone through, it's been years now. So you have figured this out, I'm assuming?
Yeah. You mean like what are the rules? And
yeah, like how did you figure out this? Because you're kind of like, this is new.
Every time people yelled at me, then I just thought, wow, so that's not working really well for somebody. It's probably not working well for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Let's modify this. So I every time someone sent an
you
email,
have such a good attitude,
or asked a question, or suggested something, every time I take that as input to how do we modify this program. And then there's the difficulty of you don't want to change rules or processes in the middle of the season. So you have to be organized enough to get those out at the beginning of the next season. At the same time, sometimes we have very stupid rules, and we need to change it in the middle of the season. And so a lot of this is about communication, because performers, their coaches, that they can deal with a lot as long as you say to them, here are the things that you can expect, and here are the rules that we're going to have. And then they say, gotcha, we'll come prepared for that. But then if they show up and it's not that, then it's very frustrating for everybody. So really making sure that we have consistency that people can rely on is a big deal. And another thing that I don't, it is huge and really was difficult to figure out is, how do we do stage testing? When do we do stage testing? How much time do we allow for it? How much time do we allow between performers going from one to another, both in stage testing and in performance? How long do the break times need to be? So figuring out how that works was a real challenge, and it mattered a lot to me because if you don't tell performers exactly when they're going and then really stick to it, well, how are they supposed to know when they're supposed to be warm, or when they can eat, or when they can use the bathroom? And so if they don't have these really clear expectations of when they're going to be performing, they're not going to be able to perform at their best. So making sure that they know and that we stay on time, it was hard to figure out, and it's something that I really hammer away. I kind of pound on we are staying on target no matter what.
Well, because you have a staff on Zoom, and then you have an on-site staff, and then you have a stage manager calling the show. That's complicated. It's
a lot going on for sure.
And hopefully you don't have somebody like me running your sound. You know what I'm saying?
I can relate to that because that early on, that's what I did. That's what
right. You just jump in, right?
And if you mess up somebody's sound and then that rattles them as a performer,
then
you feel awful. I have to tell you, one of my favorite sound mistakes that I made, though.
Oh, goodness.
There was a performer, and we were at, I think it was in St. Louis, and we were on stage, and there was a performer named Lucky, and he's fantastic, and he was doing Lyra, and I hit his sound before he even walked on stage. He comes running on stage, slides on his knees underneath the Lyra, makes this big "Here I Am" thing with the early music like it was planned or something, and then hops up and does it. It was epic, and it just shows you what, even if you mess up something for people who really are advanced and are high-level performers, they can make something that turns out to be perhaps even better than what they planned.
I love that. I love that answer. Okay, here's one thing that really was difficult for me to figure out when I was judging. I was judging a competition a couple months ago.
You're trying to take away Mom.
Okay, listen, good job. I'm almost done.
She's trying to tell on you and tell me to ask you to take away my iPad, and I don't want to.
Okay, but you can hang up and call your GMA instead. Okay, here's where we are. This is what was difficult for me. You have said aerialist doing a trick that they are not capable of doing yet.
Yeah.
Do you do like the real Olympics, like the Olympics with the 5 rings, and you grade a trick at a certain high rate and then give them less points because they try to do said trick? How are you doing that? That was such a hard one.
That's a really great question, because right now there are 2 very distinct approaches to judging in aerial circus arts. There is the gymnastics type approach where you give grades to everything and then you try and reach those points. And then there are deductions for a lot of things, and you have to keep all of that straight. That is one way to do it, and I understand why people want to do that, because I think people believe that in order to get to the actual Olympics, that they need a code of points that is similar to gymnastics. Aerialympics isn't like that, because I believe in my heart of hearts that the creative aspect of aerial and circus arts is what it is. That is so important to it. And so give me story, give me spectacle. So rather than you have to do certain things or these tricks give you these points, instead, our rules consist of things you are not allowed to do at certain levels, and it's almost 100% related to safety. For example, at novice level, you're not allowed to do drops. At intermediate one, you're not allowed to do a head down slack drop. So there are some very straightforward things that at certain levels we don't want you to perform. Does this mean we don't think you can train those things at those levels? Absolutely not. I mean, of course you can train things at various levels, but there's a vast difference between training a skill at a certain level and being able to go under pressure and perform it on that same skill. And so we expect what people are training is going to be a higher level than what they're actually performing. So that's kind of the basics around the rules. Now, we also have guidelines in our rubric on we expect a person at the advanced level to have these types of lines, to have this type of strength or flexibility. So there's some descriptive things around what we expect to see. And then the judge is given some freedom to give points and feedback in difficulty, in technique, in artistry, against those concepts of what do we expect to see at this level, what are they actually doing this level. So we give that rubric guidance to the judges. It makes it so that your judges actually have to be better at aerial because they have to be able to see these things. But we have some great judges, and we create consistency in that by running everything through statistical programs to see is the judging panel consistent within itself? How is one judge doing against the general norm? And then if they're consistently judging low or consistently judging high, then we'll have a one-on-one with them and talk about, okay, here's the guidance. How are you reading the guidance? How can we help shape your understanding of the guidance so that you can be more consistent with what we expect to see? And so I believe that in doing it this way, it really allows for more creativity and the expression of artistry from the performer than if we limited it to more of a gymnastics approach. I'm not saying one is better than the other, saying this is how Aerialympics does it, and I recognize that other competitions might choose to do it a different way.
Yeah, that was hard for me as a judge because what I wanted to do was to award not that. Like, I didn't want to necessarily award an aerialist that decides they're putting in all these tricks they're not capable of just because they think that they're going to score high or because they want, or they're trying to work up to it, right?
Sure.
But if you don't work up to it in the time frame that you're given, then we have to make different choices. And I'd like to see the artistry come through versus like I'm just packing my act with every single imaginable thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that came up when I was judging, I would love to pick your brain on this, is that either the teachers or the students themselves would put themselves in a category lower than what they actually were so that they would be compared against, like when you're trying to go into a lower weight class, kind of as a boxer. Does this come up for you? I'm sure it does, because it came up the 2 days that I was working on something like this.
This is a huge challenge. So we keep track of who wins at what levels and when they are told. So they have to move up if they win at nationals, but they also have to move up if the judges say you have to move up.
Oh, got it. Out of that category, whatever that category is.
Yeah, you have to go to the next level. But it can be a challenge, especially at the lower levels or the first time a group competes. So the first time a group competes, I almost always see them entering a higher level than they should. But occasionally we'll see them at a lower level. Or sometimes we'll get a performer that we're like, what are you doing putting them into novice or intermediate one? But we know the studio and they don't typically do that. And we trust them. I'll actually reach out to them and say, what's going on with this performer? And a lot of times somebody will look like they're better than they are because they already have a background in gymnastics or dance or some type of a movement activity, but they've never done aerial before. So they might legitimately belong in intermediate one rather than advanced. And But as we look at them and go, how come you're so good at moving from one thing to another? Well, maybe the transitions are all that they can do at this point. Maybe they don't know any drops yet. Maybe they are not comfortable yet in the air, even though their movement quality might suggest that they should be higher. And so we try to keep an eye on that and have human conversations about it rather than jumping to conclusions about whether they belong in a division or not. And typically it really is about communication.
Okay, so I have two big questions for you. Number one, do you see our sport in the actual Olympics, and how would you imagine we would get there? I think you're the person to ask.
Oh, thank you. I do.
Okay.
There needs to be a consistent rubric, and there needs to be a lot of studios behind it. So everybody needs to get marching in the same direction. So if I envision our sport being in the Olympics, that is one way to do it. Another way is to have a very vocal, small group of people who are doing it in a way that they believe the Olympics will accept, and everybody else is mad at them. So there's two ways. There's kind of two ways to get to the Olympics. I think that it's likelier that we will have a ice dance approach or ice skating approach to the points rather than more gymnastic style approach. I think it's likely that one or two apparatus will get in, maybe silks and lyra, and then everything else they'll figure out how to get those two Olympics eventually. So really, I believe from an Olympics standpoint, what they're looking for is, do we have a large group internationally of people doing the same thing in the same way that can be judged consistently? And right now, we don't have that. And circus mindset being what it is, that might take a while to get there.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a big tent, as they say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways and a lot of different avenues. Do you know if the conversation is actually happening on that level?
Yeah. There are a couple of different competitions that have reached out to me to say that they have had preliminary conversations. I don't think they've gone very far. And to ask if I wanted to be part of the group that's heading that way. But because their judging is so different from how Aerialympics does it, it's hard to say, yeah, let's get behind that. Let me completely revamp my program so that we can do it. And I'm not saying if the Aerialympics community decided that that's the direction that we all wanted to go, then, I might consider changing the rules. We've changed rules in the past. We could change rules in the future. But I don't think that that's what the people competing with Aerialympics are asking for.
Okay. This kind of like two different conversations. It's like what the students are doing in your competitions here in America versus like the international scene and what they would require.
Yeah. So there's some different groups. There's groups that are trying to do pole and aerial that maybe if they broke it apart, because as much as we would like to wish that pole and aerial arts are in the same category, they come from a different background. They come from a different historical evolution, right? And so the background shapes the activity and how it's pursued, how it's judged, the people participating. So it might make more sense to break them up and have one and then the other, or even on parallel tracks pursuing something with the Olympics. So I can see where people would love that for a lot of reasons. But again, man, circus is its own thing.
I know. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people saw that breakdance was in the Olympics. They're like, well, if that can be in the Olympics, then certainly we can, because the athleticism and this and that, and they can see those parallel lines to ice dancing and ice skating and pairs, all that stuff. With my co-hosts that are on this podcast, we've debated it before and we don't all agree. And this is three people who are usually on the pretty same page who can't agree on things. Okay, so Jen, you've obviously taken this thing on. You sound super passionate about it, even though you're not an aerialist yourself.
Yeah.
Number one, what advice would you give to young aerialists out there? And number two, what advice would you give to artistic entrepreneurs?
Okay. Young aerialists. The most important thing is your work ethic and your attitude. Working for something consistently, persistently, shaping in your mind what it is that you want, and then guiding your own life towards that is one of the best ways to guarantee that that's going to be in your life. And a lot of young aerialists don't realize, maybe because they haven't been taught it, or it's a kind of a foreign concept to them, but who you are as a person is going to affect your chances of being hired as an aerialist. So people develop reputations, especially in this, regardless, I mean, it is growing, but it's still a very small community. And so to get hired, you have to be known for having a good work ethic, for having a positive attitude, for showing up and communicating and trying and doing your best. So those are the things that everyone can develop for themselves, regardless of your age, regardless of your circumstances. Show up, do your best, work hard, be positive. And I know it sounds simple, but it's not. It's a decision. Showing up, working hard, being positive, that's a decision that you have to make every day, and sometimes several times in the day to continue it. And then if we're considering artist entrepreneurs, arts in general are a very difficult way to make a living. And that doesn't mean don't do it. That means recognize it's a hard way to make a living. And so as you step into the world of a professional artist of any kind, but specifically circus arts, what are your expectations? And if your expectations for how you're going to live, maybe materially, while you're pursuing your dreams of being a professional artist, they don't always match up. And so figuring out how you can have the day-to-day life and activities that you want, that might mean giving up some of the material things, or at least for a while, as you pursue it. Another way that a lot of us have done it is having a day job while you're doing the other things. I know a lot of studio owners, for example, who have a second job in addition to their studio in order to support what they do. That doesn't mean you're not an entrepreneur. It just means that you're an entrepreneur who's found a way to support your dreams, using that 9 to 5, or using maybe even a part-time job.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a great example of that, because I just took a full-time job, and I'm still doing my part-time job at the aerial studio, and I'm still doing all my workshops and stuff, because it just wasn't enough. It doesn't cover the base. You need your bases covered. And I have to say, I'm a lot better and I'm a lot more artistic when I'm not worried about putting food on my table.
Yes. Yeah. That stress of, are your basic needs getting met, makes it, if that hasn't taken care of, then how do you be an artist? And yet, many of us here, well, I'm the starving artist, and it almost feels like you have to be in that starving artist genre in order to be valid as an artist. That's nonsense. You don't have to be a starving artist.
Agree.
You can take care of your needs. So my day job, I'm in cybersecurity, and I go around and I go around the world and I look at people's systems and I write very, very long, very boring reports about cybersecurity. But it's a great job, and it helps me because as I do this travel, last week I went to the Philippines. While I was there, I got to meet with 2 of my judges and a woman who has her own aerial competition that she holds in Asia. So there's ways to use your job to support your artist dreams.
Yes.
And you just have to be creative about it. Somebody says no, you go, okay, well, how do I turn that into a yes? Or this isn't working this way. How do I modify it to make it work and get me what ultimately my heart's telling me I want, which is to be part of the aerial circus community.
Yeah. Yeah, we can have that magic, but you need the other things too.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially now. And maybe it didn't used to be that way, but it seems like it is now. It's just like costs are going up. We gotta have that bread and butter somewhere.
Life for sure is expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Jen, I appreciate you. I am so grateful to meet you because I actually was like, oh man, wouldn't that be cool? I got so many questions for this woman.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on. It was really fun talking to you. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find Amanda Ritchie at Grounded in Flight on Instagram and at Noah Doc on Instagram, as well as Red Flags app. And me, Carrie Wee, you can find at wrapyourheadaroundsilks.com. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. We have so much more coming at you, including guests that are in this art world that are blazing their way through new businesses and, just more banter from us. Thank you for listening. This is The Artist Entrepreneur.